This class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and we are going to learn the Haftorah of the first day of Pesach. Pesach is coming up. The Haftorah of the first day of Pesach is the beginning of the book of Joshua, almost the beginning, page 1512 in this book. It's an interesting Haftorah. 1512 is the Haftorah. It's an interesting Haftorah because it's two verses, 3 verses from chapter 3, then we skip to chapter 5, then we say a verse or two from chapter 6. Joshua was the leader after Moses. Now Joshua had a huge challenge. Surprise, surprise. You're after Moses. Can you imagine? After people used to ask me all the time, who is going to be after the Rebbe? You need to understand, after the Rebbe, nobody's going to be after the Rebbe. And he can't. After this shows, nobody can go in. Everybody, you look at them, you try to measure them by the Rebbe. You? Joshua had a huge challenge. The Talmud says, the face of Joshua, of Moses is like the sun. Joshua is like the sun. Moses is like the moon. What does this mean? Joshua is like the moon. I'm sorry. Moses is like the sun. Joshua is like the moon. Joshua was a reflection of Moses. Joshua had a huge challenge. The Jewish people looked at him and said, where are you and where is Moshe? But Joshua needed to prove himself with miracles. Because with Torah he couldn't prove himself. The Torah was given by Moses, closed, done. More than that, the Medrash says, Moses comes to Joshua before he died. You have any questions? And that Joshua said, Reb Moshe, I was with you for 4 years, I never left you. Joshua was the ultimate disciple. According to the Talmud, he wasn't married. He never left Moses' side. He said, whatever you know, I know. You should say, okay, fine. Reb Moshe died, and Joshua forgot 300 laws. The Jews wanted to kill him. That's Medrash puts it. That's how sad it was. God told them, I cannot tell you the laws. You'll have to figure them out because the Torah was given, finished. And what you should do, occupy them in war. Get them busy. They forget about the source. The Joshua, but on the miracle side, on the Torah side, he wasn't like Moses, but on the miracle side, he was greater than Moses. He made miracles that even Moses didn't make. For example,
the sun in the sky.
He stopped the sun from sunsetting. Moses didn't do it.
In the Medrash, Moses does it. Yeah.
In the Medrash, not in the text. It's not clear in the text. I know, you're right. But what I mean to say, the walls of Jericho to fall, Moses didn't do such things. Then Joshua had to establish his credibility by the Jewish people. That God tells them, Moses tells them, and God tells them, Chazak ve'ematz, be strong and courageous. A few times. One time Hashem tells them, one time Moses tells them. You know, the Haftorah for Simchas Torah is the first chapter of Shmini Atzer. Parshas Zot HaBrocha or Shmini Atzer, so 1 second, we'll see in a minute. Is the Haftorah, is the first chapter in the book of Joshua. Just interesting to say. 1532. Just turn another few pages, you'll see it. It starts, that's the first chapter of the book of Joshua. Mm-hmm. It was after the death of Moses, God's servant, that God said to Moshe's attendants, Joshua, son of Nun, what he told them, my servant do this and this and this, nobody will be afraid of you. Number 6, you want to read number 6?
Be strong and firm, for you will bring this people...
There's a wrong translation, be strong and courageous, that's what the true translation should be. Go ahead.
So you will bring this people to take possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. But you must be very strong and firm to be...
Well, again, Rak Chazak ve'emat, be strong and courageous. Then the whole Haftorah, the number 9, continue.
To be careful to observe the entire Torah which my servant Moshe commanded you. Do not turn aside from it to the right or the left, so that you succeed wherever you go. This book of the Torah must not depart from your mouth, You must pore over it day and night, so you will be careful to observe everything written in it. Only then will you prosper in all your ways and be successful. Have I not commanded you, be strong and firm?
Again, Chazak v'ematz. In this chapter alone, it's written 4 times. And the whole Haftorah on this page, in the end of this, number 18, the last verse, any man
Who rebels
here is the people of Israel, the 2 tribes, Gad and Reuven, who made a deal with Moses, and Joshua told them to live up to the promise, to lead the war, to conquer Israel. They tell them like this. Read from number 16.
They answered Yehoshua, everything you have commanded us, we will do, and wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we listened to everything Moses said, so will we listen to you, so long as God, your God, is with you, as he was with Moshe. Any man who rebels
As long as God will be with you as he was with Moshe, we will listen to you. Pretty good deal. I mean, a clear condition. Yeah, we'll do anything you want if you will show us that you know to be like, that you are like Moshe. Continue.
Any man who rebels against you and does not listen to your words concerning anything you command us will be put to death. Just be strong and firm to punish them, and do not forgo your honor.
Just be strong and courageous. Again, Rak Chazak v'ematz. The Jews told them. This is in the book of Joshua. It's in the Torah itself too. Moses tells Joshua before he died, Chazak v'ematz. He told them in the name of God. Joshua had a huge challenge. What he did, the first thing when he became a leader, what was his proof that he is like Moses? When he entered the land of Israel, what he did? What was the first miracle? They split the Jordan. They took the Ark of the Covenant, they got into the waters, split the Jordan. Not bad, huh? We have it in the Haftorah. I don't think it's the Haftorah of the Shalach. No. The Shalach is the Haftorah of Dvorah Neviah. Maybe the Haftorah is here. No, it's not a change. No. Okay. In any case, split the sea, the waters of Jordan. I mean, I hope the waters of Jordan were bigger than today, but today's water, not much to split them. There's not much water there altogether. And then Joshua led them into the land of Israel. What was the date they entered the land of Israel? The 10th of Nisan, 4 days before Pesach. It's unbelievable, and that's what really this Haftorah establishes, that the entrance to Israel was another exodus from Egypt. Whatever happened in the exodus from Egypt happened in the land of Israel, the entrance of the land of Israel. Exactly. In the 10th of Nisan, what happened in Egypt on the 10th of Nisan?
They segregated the lambs.
They took the lamb. And what was the Egyptian reaction? The firstborn went to Pharaoh and asked to let the Jewish people go because they didn't want to die. It was a war between Egypt and Egypt on behalf of the Jews. Right? That's why you have Shabbat HaGadol, the great Shabbos, the great miracle. Here, the 10th of Nisan, they entered the land of Israel. Finally, Joshua brings them to the land of Israel. Beautiful. Now what? Let's read. We are on page 1512, book of Joshua, chapter 3, number 5.
Joshua said to the people, "Purify yourselves, because tomorrow God will perform wonders in your presence." Joshua spoke to the priests, saying, "Raise the Ark of the Covenant and pass ahead of the people." So that they raised the Ark of the Covenant and went ahead of the people. God said to Yehoshua, "Today I will begin to make you the great in the eyes of all Israel. So they will know that just as I was with Moshe, so I will be with you."
You see what the tribe of Ephraim, Dan, and Reuven told to Joshua, if God will be with you as with Moshe, we will listen to you. God tells them, I will make miracles that they will see the time with you as much as I was with Moshe. Exactly this is the point that they said. Now this paragraph is from chapter 3, before they enter the land of Israel. And then we go to the next step. I think it's written here, the Haftorah starts with this, is because the Haftorah starts and ends with the concept that Joshua is as great as Moses. That's what they want to make a point. But the main Haftorah is chapter 5. They already entered the land of Israel. Now comes a day after the 10th of Nisan, the 11th of Nisan. Just for your information, the 11th of Nisan is the Rabbi's birthday. Just for your information.
Wow.
Now you'll see why I'm saying it. Okay.
At that time, God said to Yehoshua, make a sharp blades and circumcise the children of Israel again, a second time.
Again? Oy vey! What does this mean again? Cutting them again? Go ahead.
It's not again, it's
Not
different,
again.
different.
You bet. I learned it today, so they looked me at it again. It wasn't again. Go ahead, continue.
So Yehoshua made sharp blades, and he circumcised the children of Israel at the place which was subsequently named Givas Ha'arot.
Givat Oralot. You know what this
Much
means in
better.
English? You know they don't translate it for a reason. It means
Cut him
the
again.
it means the heel of the foreskins. It was so 600,000 men. What do you think? It's a joke?
So what happened in the first time they got circumcised? They
They
grew
left it in
foreskins?
Egypt.
They grew foreskins back? I mean,
No, it's a new generation.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's a
then, okay.
generation.
People were born in the desert.
The people who were born in the desert were
So
not
this is the first
circumcised.
time that they were circumcised?
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Why weren't they circumcised in the desert?
Yeah. That's $1 million question. Why they were not circumcised in the desert?
They weren't ready. Too
They had to move,
difficult.
they couldn't, they had anything.
Some say they were on the rush to go to Israel. They didn't want anything to delay them from going to Israel. That they were afraid, we are breeze, the cloud of glory starts to move, now you're going to stay with the baby by yourself? Everybody's moving. That they said, we are going to Israel, we cannot wait for anything. Others say that the climate in Egypt, in the desert, was such that the blood couldn't clot. We'll have a few doctors here, we'll see what they have to say.
Neither one, because they were stationary for so long at certain places.
But they didn't know, they never knew. That's a problem. You never knew how long you're going to be, right?
Fair enough.
Let's give them the
Fair
benefit of the doubt. But I must tell you, what you say is my question forever. More than that, the story with Moses. Moses almost died. Why Moses almost died on the way from Midian to Egypt? Because he didn't circumcise his son, right? He had the same calculations. Moses said, if I circumcise my son, I cannot go, will delay me from going to Egypt. I'll go to Egypt. Eliezer, he had a baby, was just born. God told him, go to Egypt. He said, if I do a breeze, I will have to wait. I cannot go. He got sick. He almost died. That his wife, Tzipporah, said, I'll circumcise him. I'll stay here, and you go. Geh gesundheit. I don't need you. Just a burden, like every wife tells her husband. Just go. Stay away. Your best help is you stay away. Go to yeshiva for 6 months. But the interesting part is there is not one word of criticism that the Jews did not circumcise the children in the desert. Not from Moses, not from Joshua, not from the Talmud. Not any prophet says anything bad. They mention it as matter of fact. They tell you the story. They didn't circumcise, fine. There is maybe one word of criticism here, maybe, but in general you don't hear anything. You need to understand the Jews in the desert were not exactly at the stage of observing mitzvahs. It was more a training camp. It was like a child before bar mitzvah. He learns how to be a Jew. He's not obligated. For example, how many Passovers they celebrated in the desert? One. They didn't offer sacrifices the other 39 years. That's not written. It was the first time after they left Egypt, the story with the guys who were not pure, the Pesach Sheni with the second. That's it. Maybe they did. That's not recorded. And it doesn't look like they did. And there is many other things. The whole thing of holiday is the sukkah. When you think they built a sukkah in the desert under the cloud of glory, it doesn't make sense. I mean, they found a lulav exactly, middle of the desert. It was more at learning more than actual doing. You understand? Then the same thing is with the circumcision. The bottom line is, the Levites circumcised themselves. The Levites were the Hasidic Jews. They circumcised themselves in Egypt. They circumcised here. In Egypt also, most of the Jews did not observe the mitzvah of circumcision. Why? We'll go even earlier. You know Joseph, you remember the story with Joseph? The Jews came, the Egyptians said, we want bread. What Joseph told them?
Circumcise yourself.
And the Medrash says, he told them to circumcise himself. He came to Pharaoh and said, Pharaoh, what do you want from our life? He said, guys, if you want food or not, make up your mind. Why did Joseph want to circumcise the Egyptian? For what purpose? He knew his brothers are going to come to Egypt. He didn't want them to look different. He knew it's very hard to be different. To call them the circumcised ones, it was considered an embarrassment. That he forced the whole community, the whole nation to circumcise. Everybody will suffer. It worked for one time. The Egyptians did not continue to circumcise themselves. And the Jews were different. The many Jews, like in many other countries, assimilated. They didn't circumcise. Also, in the time of the Romans, being circumcised was considered in Greeks and the Romans was considered an embarrassment. The Jews used to try to undo their circumcision. It was a very painful experience, but they did it just to look like everybody else. Then you see it was certain societies that being circumcised was considered a terrible an embarrassment. Thank God America is not like this, but then the Jews in Egypt did not circumcise themselves, and the Jews in the desert did not circumcise themselves. Some probably for the same reason. And we see it a little bit in the text, as we're going to see in a minute. We'll continue to read.
Can read. Number 4.
Number 4.
And this is the reason why Yehoshua single-handedly circumcised all the people who had left Egypt, all the males fit for war from among
Single-handedly is written in parentheses, right?
600,000. He was one busy guy.
Who does that? Rashi?
possible.
It's only Rashi, but it doesn't single-handedly doesn't mean that he himself did it. If enough he appointed 20 rabbis to do it, there is emissaries, it's considered like he did it. You know that emissary by Jewish law, his end is like my end. If I appoint you to do something for me, it's considered like I did it myself. If somebody cannot show up in the chuppah, he can send somebody to do it for him. If he's too busy, he doesn't have time to come to the chuppah for some whatever reason.
What?
Can send a shliach. It's not practiced, but there is such a concept. Go ahead.
all the males fit for war from among those who had left Egypt, who were capable of performing a circumcision, had died in the desert on the way out of Egypt. For while all the people who had left Egypt had been circumcised, none of those born in the desert on the way out of Egypt had been circumcised. The children of Israel had then wandered into the desert for 40 years until all the people fit for war who had left Egypt died because they did not obey God. So there was nobody left capable of performing a circumcision. Because of their disobedience, God swore that he would not show them the land which he had sworn to their forefathers to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. But he raised their children in their place, and Yehoshua circumcised them, since they had not been circumcised on the way.
Why it was so important to circumcise them now? Why you have to be? Why Moses circumcised? You know that the Medrash says that Moses circumcised the Jews before they left Egypt. Why? Just to make it more painful to go on the way to Egypt, out of Egypt. Why they had to be circumcised?
Eat Passover.
They had to eat Passover. You know, it's written something, an interesting law that God tells Moses, sneaks in right there before he tells them about the Passover lamb. He tells them in Parshas Boy, anybody who wants to eat from the meat of the sacrifice has to be circumcised. On page 417, you can see it on 419, even more clear. Number 47.
The entire community of Israel shall make it. When a convert joins you, he should make a Pesach sacrifice to God in order for him to offer it, and all his male family members shall be circumcised. Then he will be like a native of the land, bringing the sacrifice in its prescribed time. No uncircumcised male may eat of it.
No uncircumcised male may eat from the sacrifice. That God told them to do a Passover lamb to take right before they left Egypt. Anybody who was not circumcised had to be circumcised right there. Also, they took the lamb on the 10th of Nisan, and the 11th of Nisan they had to be circumcised. The same thing, the same exact date, 40 years later, the 10th of Nisan they entered the land of Israel, and the 11th of Nisan they had to be circumcised.
So that's why they weren't circumcised in the desert then.
Why?
They never participated.
There was no Passover lamb. There was no need to circumcise, so to speak. But the mitzvah of circumcision is from Abraham. Forget about it. We don't have a sacrifice there, we don't have to circumcise. You understand? The first mitzvah that the Jewish people got the first mitzvah to the Jews was Brit Milah, circumcision.
Right.
To Abraham, and he told Abraham, you and your children's children. That was the sign of the Jews. Then this mitzvah was not. I understand from a practical point, it didn't stop them from doing something because there was no sacrifice, but the mitzvah was there. That right there on the first Pesach before they left Egypt, on the 11th of Nisan, they circumcised. On the 11th of Nisan, when they entered the land of Israel, Joshua circumcised the whole nation. 600,000 men, a whole generation. That the Levites were 22,000, they were circumcised. 22,000. 600,000 we're talking about. No, the free Hasidim were already circumcised. No, they were the moyers. They were busy to do the job. Okay, now here comes an interesting word. We are number 8, I think. Go ahead.
I have my turn? No, your turn. I'm sorry.
Whatever. Go ahead.
Okay, after all the people had been circumcised, they remained where they were in the camp until they were healed. God said to Yahushua, "Today, through the circumcision, I have removed the shame of Egypt from you."
Remove the shame of Egypt from you. What does this mean? What's the shame of, why is circumcision removing the shame of Egypt from you?
For all the rules that they didn't follow, for idol worshiping.
Yeah, but why circumcision? What do you mean? Because the Egyptians were not circumcising. The Jews wanted to be like the Egyptian. That when he circumcised them, he removed the shame of Egypt from them. You're not like the Egyptian anymore. That's at the most simple, literal level. Obviously, God was not happy with this. That's the only criticism that you hear. God says, I removed the shame of Egypt from you. Shame on you, you look like the Egyptian. Now you don't look anymore like the Egyptian. You're Jews. That's on the simple level. But there is even more than that. When Pharaoh, that's in the text, but I will not make you turn pages back and forth because it's too painful. Okay, we'll try. I saw some people that are afraid that
Another trial.
it's actually connected to the parsha of this week. You will not believe it. This parsha is about the golden calf, right? Can you see so? What was Moses' argument to God why not to kill the Jewish people? What he told them? Why not?
You look at the Egyptians.
Egyptians, right.
Oh, open page 567. Number 11. You want to read?
67, number 11. Moshe pleaded before God, his God, and said, "Why, O God, should your anger be kindled against your people, whom you have brought up from the land of Egypt with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Egyptians say, he brought them out with evil intent to kill them in the mountains and to annihilate them from upon the face of the earth?"
Why should the Egyptians say it? First of all, that was his best argument. What are the Goyim going to say? Forget about the Jews. What are the Goyim going to say? Shame, we're fair. It's not nice. The best argument with God is, it doesn't look good by the Goyim. That's the best thing. Then what he says, he took them out with evil intent. Why should the Egyptians say it? Because the Egyptians say that. The word, he says the word evil. Bera'ah otziam. He took him out with evil intent. Ra'ah, because Pharaoh, when he tries to argue with Moses, not to take everybody, only the men, he uses the same expression. That's where the rabbis, how they learn in everything, they find the same word, the same expression. When he says, Re'u kiro neget nechem, lo ychenechuno agvorim, on page 401. Number 10.
Me?
Go.
Okay.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Yeah, please.
He said to them,
He is Pharaoh, said to Moses and Aaron.
okay, you will need God to be with you, even if I will just send you out and your children, all the more so if I send the cattle too. See that the evil which you intend to commit turns
Back.
back at you.
You hear? Pharaoh is saying to the Jews, the evil will turn back at you. The same word, evil, the same word that later Moses says, they took you out with the evil intent. Not so, I will not allow any goes on, only you go. What's the evil that turned back against you? That Rashi says, I don't have the Rashi here in English, Rashi says something amazing. Pharaoh was an astrologist. He said, I see a star of blood on you. Ra'ah. And I see blood on you in the desert. Guys, don't go. Here is my personal advice. You think you're chachams? Don't go. Join. Moses told him, you tell me what to do. We're living. God is with us. Came to the golden calf, this week's parsha. God wanted to kill the Jewish people. That Moses said, Pharaoh was alive. Pharaoh survived the war. Pharaoh said, didn't I tell you? I was right. Mm-hmm. I told you don't go there. That convinced God. God said, okay, I'm not going to do that. Because just not to get Pharaoh come out the right guy. Jews cannot handle that somebody else is right. Then what he did, God took the blood of the desert that they saw on him and turned it into a good blood. The blood of circumcision. Mm-hmm. That's what Moses said, that what God tells Joshua, today I remove the shame of Egypt from you. What shame? The shame of the blood that they said, we see blood on you in the desert. Yeah, I think you have blood in the desert, but good blood. And this is an amazing lesson of the power of the Jewish people over the destiny. That was spoke Shabbos about that. We can turn your blood, sure, we'll turn the blood into good blood. Don't worry, don't get too excited. From blood you make a breeze. From blood you make a mitzvah of slaughtering kosher animals. Can turn every bad into good blood, into good things. That's what God tells Joshua, today I remove the shame from Egypt. No more the Egyptian will say, we see blood on you. No more. The blood is over. This is the blood. Now he can move on. He can enter the land of Israel. That this collective you know how much blood it was there? 600,000 men in one day. You know what was going on there? It was blood, but good blood. Everybody's alive. They had a little hard to walk, but they're alive. That's the shame. That's the deeper meaning of the Medrash and the Talmud, and Rashi brings that into the blood, the shame that removed from Egypt. But Galoisi, the name of the place that they stayed there. What was the name of the place that they camped at this time? Where was the first city that entered Israel? Gilgal. Gilgal comes from the word galoti. Removed. Galgal. Wheel. But removed. He removed the shame from Egypt. The name of the place is named after the idea that he removed. But what he removed on the simple level, he removed the shame from Egypt from them, that they are not circumcised. they are, not the circumcised is a status in Judaism. It's not a regular thing. The non-Jews are called the uncircumcised. Understand? In many ways in the Bible, in the Talmud, the uncircumcised, and the Jews are called the circumcised. Forget about if this person is circumcised or not. We're talking about a concept. Then the same thing is here. He removed them from the shame from Egypt in the physical way, and removed the shame of Egypt that the Egyptians saw. We saw blood on you. These two things are removed. That the same thing that happened, circumcision in Egypt before they left Egypt, the same thing happened with that of Israel. Now we come to the second thing that happened in Egypt and happened here. Okay. He actually says it. We read number 9. I think I stopped you in the middle of number 9. God said to Joshua, today, to the circumcision, we are on page 1513. Back to the...
No.
Take from here, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Number
After
9.
all the people had been circumcised, they remained there.
No. Read again number 9, if
number-
you don't mind.
9, go one more.
I can't see it.
God,
Oh,
Yeshua.
God said to Yeshua, today, through the circumcision, I have removed the shame of Egypt from you. He called the place Gilgal, as is known to this
You
day.
see, in Hebrew it makes sense. Galoti, Gilgal. Because I removed the shame from Egypt, I call the place Gilgal. Gilgal based on the word Galoti. I removed. That's one thing. Now comes the second thing. Number 10, continue.
Okay, the children of Israel camped in Gilgal, and they performed the Pesach sacrifice on the 14th day of the month in the afternoon in the plains of Jericho.
They made a sacrifice, the Passover sacrifice. Just like in Egypt, they do the Brit Milah, and they did the Pesach. So too here, the same two things, the same exact conditions to enter the land. Now, what is in these two things? What lays behind it? Why these two mitzvahs God chose to give them in Egypt? And that explains why God gave them here.
The sacrifice of the lamb is rejection of the Egyptian idolatry.
Very nice. And
circumcision is being welcomed into the covenant.
very good. You're very good, actually. And it's actually written, when we read it there is a Masio ben Chorosh that says it. 1 second. Look on page 409. I'm sorry, I'm driving you back and forth because it's the same story. What I do, it's the same. It goes back and forth. 409, the classic question. You'll start the answer.
Why was
Once I give everybody the time to, because it's a very important paragraph. 409, the second, the classic question, we start from the answer, Rashi.
Oh, start with the answer. Rashi, to answer this question,
Well, know what, maybe,
read the question.
read the question.
Why was the Pesach lamb taken into the Jewish houses on the 10th of Nisan, 4 days before its slaughter? A detail which was not required in future generations. Rashi, to answer this question, Rabbi Masya ben Charash used to say that the time had arrived for the Jewish people to be freed, but that they did not possess any mitzvahs with which to busy themselves in order to be worthy of redemption.
You see, the Jews were ready to go out from Egypt, but they looked, the Satan, the Talmud puts it, the Satan came to God, he says, they're idol worshippers and they're idol worshippers. Why should we take them out from Egypt? They look like, just like the Egyptian. Continue.
Therefore, God gave them two mitzvahs, the blood of the Pesach lamb and the blood of circumcision. For they circumcised themselves on that night, as the verse states, I saw you wallowing in your bloods. The use of the plural blood suggests two types of blood. Because they were immersed in idolatry, God said to them, draw and buy for yourselves lambs and sheep, as if to say, withdraw from idolatry and buy for yourselves a lamb in order to fulfill a mitzvah. And here's something called Gur Arya.
Okay, that's it. Now that God gave him two mitzvahs. Now, if you turn to page 411, just one more page. Don't get too confused. In the Torah Menachem in the bottom there, on page 411, the right column, there is A and B. Read A and B.
The positive involvement with good deeds and mitzvot, this was achieved through circumcision, which allows the Jew to enter into a covenant with God. However, the occupation with good alone would not have been sufficient, as the people may still have remained passively attached to the former idolatrous ways. Therefore, a further act was required to withdraw from and denounce the idolatrous practice of Egypt, and this was the public denunciation of the God of Egypt. The Jewish people were commanded to kill a lamb, which was the deity of Egypt, and splash its blood on the doorpost. This achieved a total dissociation from the previous idolatrous ways.
Then what is happening here? There is in Judaism sur mera va'asei tov. There is positive commandment and there is negative commandment. There is love of God and there is fear of God. There's what to do and what not to do. Because now, if you, let's say somebody is doing a circumcision and is still worshiping idols, it's not a contradiction. It's not enough just to do good. You have to deny and remove yourself from bad. And it's not enough to do bad, to remove yourself from bad. You have to actually do good. That the Passover lamb was a statement: we are not worshiping idols. They took the idol and we slaughtered them. Finished. Over. Done. But it's not enough. God wants a covenant with God. That was the circumcision, the Brit Milah. That God didn't throw on the Jews 630 mitzvahs for the left Egypt. Oh, if you do this and do this. No. One thing not to do bad and one thing to do good. Now think about it. What was first, the doing good or the not doing bad? Is the first thing was to covenant with God, or the first thing was to deny the idols? The good. Aha. Here lays the whole philosophy of Chabad. This, when the Rebbe spoke about it, he put in this Rashi, the whole Chabad philosophy. First of all, we don't throw on anybody 630 mitzvahs, because that's a failing perspective to begin with. You lost them before you started. But more than that, the verse says in the Bible, it's in the book of, it's King David says, Sur mera va'asei tov. We say it in the prayer Saturday morning, kind of early in shul time, not too many people around, but we say that Sur mera means remove yourself from evil and do good. First Sur mera, then asei tov, then do good. That the regular order in Jewish life is, somebody comes to the rabbi, wants to do tshuva. First of all, we tell them, stop doing bad. Then we'll start to talk about doing good. Then came the Baal Shem Tov, and really the Rebbe, and he says, we don't have time until we remove the Jews from the bed. You'll never get anywhere. You'll give them good. The connection with good will elevate them from the bed. And we see it, that's the way God did it there. In Egypt and in the way to Israel. First make a covenant with God, then remove the idol. Because the mitzvah, the Chabad, the Rebbe always said, don't go into argument with people about God, proving there is a God, proving the Torah. Forget about proving. Don't give them a mitzvah. The mitzvah will elevate them. He will do it. He will not have any more questions. He will connect them. That's a breeze. Connect them. Everything else will fly. That we see it in the story as they left Egypt, and the same story as they left, as they entered the land of Israel. The same process. Circumcision, and then the Passover lamb. Remove yourself, do good, make a covenant with good, and remove yourself from evil. And then comes the third thing that was very similar to what happened in Egypt. Oh, here comes something very interesting. A very important piece of big news. Number, I think, 11.
On the intermediate day following the first day of Pesach, they brought the Omer offering and ate from the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain during daytime. The remaining stores of manna were depleted the next day once they began to eat from the land's produce. The children of Israel no longer had manna, and so they began to eat from the crops.
No more manna. The party is over.
The crops of the land in Canaan that year. Once when the Yehoshua was...
now it starts a new story. The first of all, we have here a piece of good news. Good news or bad news, depends who you ask. No more manna. When was the manna over?
When we entered Israel.
Yud Nisan? I think Zion ordered the manna stopped. When Moses died, I think the manna stopped. And they survived the manna for another month. They had leftover, and then that's it. I think it was. I think when Moses died, they stopped the manna.
It's like a declaration of independence.
You're absolutely right. Yes, yes.
You left the nest.
Yeah, left the nest. But it's a matter how you look of it. Other people will say, look, Joshua, Moses brought us manna. Moshe is gone, we get nothing from this guy. He doesn't have the power of his Rabbi. You understand the problem? And the truth, but God wanted the babies to grow up. You know, the guys who go to college and go again to college and again, PhD, DD, and DD, and they never go to work. Then you have to go out of college one day. That's exactly what is happening here.
They call the land of Canaan, that's the land of Israel, right?
Yeah, sure.
Canaan.
Now, number 13 happens a new thing here.
Once when Yehoshua was in Jericho, he lifted his eyes and noticed that a man standing right before him with his sword unsheathed in his hand. Yehoshua went over to him and said, "Do you come to help us or our enemies?"
You say, no, in Hebrew it became a famous line. Alanu ata o letzoreinu. Are you on our side or on their side? Every fight. Are you on my side or on their side? Which side are you? You know, you're walking before elections, you want to smell if this guy is on your side or on the other side, and before you start to say anything, you get yourself in trouble. Then what Joshua saw this man standing with a sword. What he told him?
No, he said, "I am the commander of God's army only.
Oh,
Is that a first?
go ahead. I'm sorry. Now
Now I've come to you."
I'm on your side.
Is that a first to have it? Did we ever hear of a commander of God?
It was an angel
Well, but this is a military
expression
metaphor.
because he had to go. Oh yeah, if this is a first, listen. It's written. Tzivas Hashem. God is the God of the armies. Hannah called God Hashem Tzvaot, God of the war, God of the army.
Hosts.
God of the host. What host means in English? What's host?
The heavenly host would be the
What-
angels.
What is host means? Forget about the heavenly host. What's host?
You know why they say
What's
hosts.
host? What's it? The best translation. What is host means? God of host. Nobody even knows.
Hosts are like if you have someone over your house, you're hosting.
You're hosting.
You're hosting them.
That's what it means.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
translation of
You're
host
a
means.
host,
But it
yeah.
means-
God of
Like
host.
guests.
That's what it means. Oy vey.
But I don't think that's the
No.
would be the
that's
context.
why.
It's a plural.
Like
It
he's
means a
in
lot of.
I don't have there is the.
Angelic, it's probably angelic hosts.
Yeah, the God of the angels, right? The angelic army.
It's written that the Tzivas Hashem, the army, when they came out from Egypt, it's written who came out from Egypt? The army of God came out from Egypt. You remember this in Pastor's Boy? This is driving some people crazy, but that's okay. Where is it? I'm sorry, I'll give you another minute.
Heavenly host is an army of angels, isn't it?
Yes. But what does this mean? Army. It's an army. God is God of the army. That's what the first one to call him God of the army was Hannah in her prayers after she got the baby, after Samuel was born. It's written in Tzivas Hashem, for example, page 417. You don't have everybody to open it if you want. If you don't find it, it's okay. And number 41. It is at the night, number 41. It was at the end of 430 years, on that very day, that the legions of God, Tzivas Hashem, at the same word, God's word, legions, army, it's the same idea. In any case, here shows up an army, officer of God, an angel. We're going back to the Haftorah. I'm sorry that I make you turn the pages again. Page 1514, we're turning the page now. Yeshua threw himself
To the ground, prostrated himself, and said to him, "What does my master have to say to his servant?" The commander of God's army said to Yehoshua, "Remove your shoes from your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy." Yehoshua did so.
First of all, who said it before?
At the burning bush.
Who told it to Moses?
God.
God?
The angel.
The angel.
Oh, that's right.
The angel. The same word, for heaven's sake.
Now here, the angel tells him to.
And they're also the angel.
There.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Should I make you turn the pages again? No, I'm sorry. Too painful. I'll read it for you. I'll just read it for you. You don't have to turn any
I thought it was
pages.
God that told him.
I know. It seems like
It's
it's
the
It always
angel.
flips back and forth between God and the angel.
Let's verify that one.
Actually, he's right.
That's right. Yes,
God is saying that.
right.
Right. No, because it's written first that an angel of God revealed himself to him, and then it's written, "Vayar Hashem
said-
kisor lirois," and God said, "Do not draw near. Take off your shoes." And God said it. I'm sorry, you're right. It's first an angel of God revealed himself, then God. Yeah, you're right. And here it's an angel of God. But here comes more than that.
Why is this place? Holy place.
Another connection. Everything is by God's, by divine providence. We're learning this Haftorah, even so Pesach and this parsha. Another connection between our parsha and this Haftorah. You know, we say in the Agada, we say, "Me and not an angel, me and not a seraph, me and not a right? Ani v'lo malach, ani v'lo sof, ani v'lo shliach. I'm not a messenger. Me and no one else. I myself went down to Egypt, right? What are we pointing out exactly? What are you getting worked up about it? Because it was a fight between Moses and God after the golden calf. God told Moses on page 573, I'm sorry again, 573,
I figure out how you have it all memorized.
I don't.
That's
He's
done
got
every
it,
time.
he's got it in his iPhone now.
On page 73, chapter 33 in the top, please in the top, go ahead. God spoke to Moshe.
Go up from here, you and the people you have brought up from the land of Egypt to the land that I swore to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites.
I will send an angel before you. Until now, God went in front of the Jews. After the golden calf, he said, I'll send an angel. Why? He explains. Continue, I'm sorry.
I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites to a land flowing with milk and honey. I am sending an angel because I personally will not go with you, since you are a stiff-necked people, and I may destroy you on the way.
God says, not just he said I will send an angel. He says clearly, I will not go with you. Why? Because it's not good for you. You know, when the teacher is in the classroom, everybody has to behave. If not, he has to punish them. He's not in the classroom, finished. It's not so bad. He says, what you need me to be there? And then you'll have to deserve punishment. I'll send an angel. That's what God tells Moses. Right after the golden calf. Because you're a stiff-necked nation. Now, look, turn one page, not much, just one page, 575. Chapter 33. You see, Moses asks to know the ways of God. You want to read?
Well, Moshe said to God, Look, you say to me, bring this people up, but you have not informed me whom you will send with me, beside the angel, whom I do not desire. And yet you said, I have distinguished you from all other people by a special name, and you have also found favor in my eyes.
That Moses doesn't like the idea that only an angel is going to join him. Continue.
Now, if I have indeed found favor in your eyes, please let me know your methods of reward, so that I may know what your rewards are, and I can appreciate what finding favor in your eyes means. My reward will be through this nation, your people, and not through a new nation. He, God said, instead of an angel, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest from
God says, I will go with you. Continue one more line.
He, Moses, said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not take us onwards from here.
You see what's going on? Moses is giving an ultimatum to God. If you are not coming, I'm not going. We're not going anywhere. That was Moses. that Moses had an argument with God. God wanted to send an angel. Moses didn't want to. Came to Joshua. God went to Joshua. He told him, I'm an angel of God. Joshua said, oh, Baruch habo, welcome. Here is the difference between Moses and Joshua. Moses says, send an angel, send him back home. Bring me God, bring the boss who's come here. Joshua, when he got the angel, he said, thank you. Beggars cannot be choosers. That's the lesson. That's the difference between Moses and Joshua. To Moses was God himself. Joshua was blessing God for having an angel.
God was Joshua and his reputation.
Then this,
spread
it's
throughout
another
the land.
connection from the Parshas Kisisi. So right here, here is Moses and here is Joshua. What do you want to say? I'm sorry.
But Moses had the most intimate relationship with God of any person ever.
Sure.
So
Sure, absolutely. Therefore, you're telling me why Joshua couldn't ask it? Absolutely. More than that, the bottom line was like this. Moses, God asked for men to be the leader. When Moses he did God a favor, so to speak. Therefore, he can complain and why, since you sent me to Pharaoh, things got worse. Therefore, after the golden calf, he tells them, you killed the Jewish people. Erase me from your book. Don't count on me. That's why I can tell them I want you. It was a whole different relationship. Anybody else, not Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Joshua, not anybody else in the future. Did God a favor, so to speak. That's why he does. That Moses, God himself, Joshua was happy with an angel, settled for an angel. What is the difference? What really is the difference when God himself comes or the angel comes?
It's direct communication. Direct.
If it's a miraculous journey or a natural journey. Moses was a miraculous journey. Not just the miracles of the splitting of the sea and the 10 plagues. Every day, 4 years, manna. What do you need a bigger miracle than that? Water, here is. Knocks on the stone, here is. What else you need? It's a miraculous journey. Joshua was a natural journey. No more manna, little wars. There will be an angel. He will interfere. He will make miracles in the war. Will be miracles. But the day-to-day life is a physical, normal life. That's a different thing. It means to say how much God reveals himself to the people. That's what it means, the difference between God or just an angel. And that's what they say in the Haggadah. In Egypt, it was an evil or malach. It wasn't an angel. The level of revelation of God was such a level, it was the highest level of God revealed himself in Egypt. This is the end of chapter 5. Now the beginning of chapter 6 is, we read one more verse from 2 verses from chapter 6, and I think that I know the reason why. We'll finish the Haftorah, chapter 6, 1, Jericho.
What page?
1514, in top of the page.
Yeah, right.
You're right
okay.
there, yeah.
Jericho's closed doors were reinforced against the children of Israel. Nobody was allowed to leave or enter. God was with Yehoshua, and his reputation spread throughout the land.
The Haftorah starts with God was with Yehoshua, and the Haftorah ends with God was with Yehoshua. The whole Haftorah is to make a point that Yehoshua was the true continual leader of Moses, and God was with him at the level of miracles. As I said in the beginning, Joshua performed bigger miracles than Moses. But Moses' authority didn't come from miracles. He was called Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. His authority came from giving the Torah. Other leaders were because of the miracles. Miracles is good for the generation who is there. The Torah will learn forever.